Hello, hello, hello. Sir David the Bard, and I'm coming to you out of Niagara Falls, New York, and I'm hiding underneath the falls, and the water's coming down, and I'm just kind of holding my computer back, but you can hide from the Danites anywhere. They can't find you behind the waterfall. If they do, I'll just get in a barrel and go over. Anyway. I wanted to do, I was going to say a serious video, and I'm lying. Anyway, I've been doing some thinking. Now, I don't want you to all think I'm going to kill myself. Not today. Tomorrow? Who the hell knows? When you're bipolar, who knows? One of the things about being bipolar is that we can entertain ourselves pretty well without the rest of you. We don't really need social interaction. If you put me in solitary confinement, I would think I was in the celestial kingdom being away from you people. We can think and think and think. Our minds race all the time, especially without medications. Our mind races from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to sleep. Hundreds, if not thousands of thoughts per hour run through our mind. And we can multitask. You might be able to put, I don't know, 5, 15 major subjects through your mind at the same time. So it's fun to be bipolar. I like being bipolar. It's just the rest of you don't like me when I'm bipolar. So I take meds for you, but not for me. I've been thinking a little bit because I'm an atheist and because I do so much religious video information. I want to tell you what I think it's like to die. Now, I've thought this through pretty well, okay? I may have been closer to death than some of you, and maybe some of you have been a lot closer to death than me. You may have something to add in the comments. Here's been my experience. I think that death, for most of us, is pretty much the same. Now, I know a lot of you are going to jump up and down and say, no, if you're hanging from a tree or you're on fire, that's different than just dying of old age. I'm not so sure that it is. I'm not so sure that it is. Now, let me back up just a little while here. You know that I had open heart surgery. Now, I've seen most of my children, of my 14 children, I've seen most of them born. And a woman goes through a lot of anguish and pain and suffering to give birth to a child. And it has always amazed me of how quickly they recover. I had one mom take a baby in her arms, and the moment that it was born, and said she wants to have another one. Well, if my weenie had done what her vagina had done, he'd go, once is enough. But mothers are different. I had quad bypass surgery, and I'm going to say something very, very presumptuous. I think I know what it's like to give birth and or have pain worse than birth. I got home from the hospital, and the pain was excruciating. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I couldn't, get to the bathroom. I couldn't eat. And Oxycontin, I was full of Oxycontin. Every hour, every 2 or 3 hours, another heavy dose of Oxycontin. I would have died without that drug, believe me. Codeine and morphine and shit, none of that stuff touched that kind of pain of taking a saw down your collarbone or breastbone and spreading your ribs wide open and then working on your heart. So I have a little bit of experience dying. I have a little bit of experience when I tried to kill myself in Evanston, Wyoming. My wife always yells at me when she's mad, "You should go back to Evanston." I said, "I'm on my way." So anyway, I overdosed there on everything. Good Lord. I have 4 or 5 major pills that I overdosed on, and then I took a, I don't know, it was like 1,500 milligrams of insulin. Not that my sugars were high, but my mood was low. Well, I sat there in the parking lot of the rest area and waited to die. Well, it was a little disappointing. It didn't happen very quickly, and I just laid there. And pretty soon, I take some more meds, and oh God, I took a whole vial. I think more than a vial of insulin, NR, who knows, Humalog, whatever. Anyway, I waited and waited, and I thought, God dang, death is slow. Where is death? Well, I began to then go in and out of consciousness, which is where I've spent most of my life. And I thought my girls were in the restroom in the truck stop there, so I was honking my horn and screaming out the window, let's go, girls. Well, it caused a little bit of a commotion. So a truck driver comes over to me and says, hey, and I go, hey, what? And he says, what are you doing, man? I said, well, I'm waiting for my girls. They're in the bathroom. He says, no, they're not. No, they're not. You've been here like for an hour honking the horn. There's no one here. And I said, well, I'll get out and get them. So I tried to get out of the car. Well, I fell out of the car. And he says, you know, I don't think you're in much shape for driving. I said, I've never been in better shape for driving. So I crawled back to the car, got behind the wheel, and drove over the parking lot over a planter. So he called the damn police, the bastard, and they rescued me. They actually saved my life, pulled me over, and saw what was going on, and sent me to the hospital. And I was passed out, and I would go in and out of consciousness. I could feel waking up a little bit and then going back, and I remember them cutting my shirt off and all the kinds of things that happen, I think, before you die. When I was 12, I have a video on this, but it's way back somewhere. I had several out-of-body experiences. I had where I'm laying in bed, I come wide awake, and I can't speak. My tongue is frozen, and I can't move. And that was pretty terrifying when I was 12. When I was at BYU at 19, it happened, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, and it was less scary, but it was still scary. I knew I was dying. So for me to say I've died, I've gone to the other side, I'm coming back and telling you is bullshit. That's never happened. Even the 60 Valium that I took in Thousand Oaks, California, and the doctor said, what the hell happened here? And I said, well, it was an accident. He says, an accident, 60 Valium? I said, yeah, I got confused. He didn't write me up for a suicide. He's, you know, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. If I'd been black, poor, and tattoos, he would have called the police, but I wasn't. Anyway, here's what I think. I think there's a point of pain, agony, and trauma that each one of us reaches. Now, I'm not going to say those areas are all separate. I'm not sure they are. I think they're set in stone. Now, some of you can say, oh, I can stand pain better than my wife and vice versa and that kind of stuff. But that's not exactly what I'm talking about. If we're going into death, where the energy body, according to the Russians, the spirit, according to religious people, who knows, your identity, your personality is going to separate, and your body is going to go dead. I think there's mechanisms that are set in there that are very close in all of us. It's very similar to, like, breathing. If you start choking a person, most of us are going to die within a few seconds of each other. Now, there's some people that can hold their breath. The Mormons always find the exception. I know a guy who held his breath for 3 days. Well, shit, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm trying to talk to people that have a brain, that can understand the philosophy of what I'm saying. Not the principles, but the philosophy. So I think there's the same thing with death. I think when we come up where our body is going to go into a death experience, there's a certain amount of pain that we can feel, and then the pain stops. Now, you can do whatever you want to the body after the pain stops. But the person's not going to feel it. They're not going to remember it. Now, I'll tell you why. Here, you know, I go way back when I was 10 or 11 years old. We lived next to these people that had chickens. And they would come out and they would cut the head off a chicken. Now, that wasn't something that I really liked to see. I'm not a gory person. I'm not afraid of blood and stuff like that. But brutality, I don't like. It makes me uncomfortable. And most of the chickens didn't like it, to tell you the truth. I was amazed that they would cut the head off the chicken, and the chicken would go, "I'm out of here!" And he'd start running with no head. Holy shit! How's he doing that? And, of course, I asked the adults around me, and they're as stupid as they are today. Well, we don't know. Chickens just run with their head cut off. Well, that gave me a lot of thought here over the last couple of weeks, and I thought, well, was the chicken in pain? I don't think so. His head was over there, his body's running down the driveway. And they would run into stuff because they couldn't see worse shit with no head. You know, I felt sorry for him. You know, one would fall down and I was picking him up and straightening him up down the driveway. He'd go again. Once a living creature reaches a certain point towards death, what you do to their body after that don't mean shit. Don't mean shit. Tell me this. I go back and pick up the running chicken. And I hold him. Now, I can't slap him. He's got no head. He's got no head. I can't slap the bastard. So I hold his neck. And I slap his neck. Does he feel that? You go, "Oh, I'm running. I have no head. And now you slap my ass?" Well, I don't think so. I think he goes, "I don't care. Do what you want to my body." The reason I'm bringing this up is the fear humans have of death. There's some fear that they haven't done a good job, and mostly that's true with most humans, and they don't want to die, they want more time. Then there's another group of humans that don't want to die because of the pain, the suffering, and a nuclear blast. I'm going to be bold enough to say that I don't think you feel the torture of death. I think once you reach a point where they've cut your head off, or once you've reached the point that they've cut off the sensory system to the brain and the spinal column, the brain has shut itself down. Says, "I don't care. Slap my neck. I don't care." So, where do we go? What do we do? Every person, I think, religious or atheist or agnostic, we all wonder, where the hell am I going to go? Now, here's the bard's best thinking. I'm 65 and a half here. And my best thinking is this. I think the evolution of man's brain and his personality, even though it's very crude and very rude, I think is an important thing in the life of evolution. I do believe in evolution, Charles Darwin and the rest of the idea. The body, it's going to die. It's going to go into dirt. It's going to be burned in a crematory. It's going to be gone, and nobody's going to remember shit except the Mormons who bought Ancestry.com because they want more temple money. No one gives a shit about the dead. I don't think the dead give a shit about the dead. Now, whether something exists beyond, I'm leaning, but I'm not converted. I'm leaning towards we do exist in some form beyond death. Now, here's some of the reasons that I think that. Most of you don't know much about Kirlian photography. The Russians invented Kirlian photography, and it reached a certain scientific acceptance up to, I don't know, the 80s, the 90s. I haven't heard much about it since then. But here's what that taught me. The Kirlians had a photography process, and they would photograph leaves of a tree. And the leaves would have bright, white, spiritual light coming off of them. And then they would cut the leaf in half and photograph it again. By God, the leaf was still there. Half the leaf body was gone. but the light and the outline of the leaf was still there. What does that tell me? Well, it tells me in some way the leaf was still whole. It was still alive. Now, eventually, when that was gone, that light would die and you would only see half of the leaf. But for many, many hours, the false leaf would give off light. Now, you've also heard of the phantom arm or leg, where someone's had their arm or leg chopped off, and they still feel that it's there. In fact, it itches, and yet they can't touch it because it's gone. It's gone. What does this all tell me? This is the Bard. This is only the Bard. Don't send me money. I'm not religious. I'm not starting a religion. Send your money to the Mormons. They buy nice malls with it. They let the poor starve, but they buy malls. Send money to the Mormons. I think somewhere our personality and or our individuality continues to exist beyond the dead body. Now, whether it goes to heaven and walks around with Jesus and you know, buys candy bars and drives cars and floats through the universe, I don't know, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. But I think somehow there may be, now again, I poo-pooed these ideas for many, many years, but I'm coming around a little bit to reincarnation. That if we continue in some way to exist, are we re-injected into another human body to go through another death experience? I don't know. I know I was King Arthur once and Guinevere was hot. Man, that girl was hot! And I died, and here I am, the damn Bard. So I must have not done very well. Is there someone controlling what other creatures... You know, I don't want to be a cockroach. Well, I've been called worse here. Is there a great supreme being that's saying, oh, you go into a tree? Well, I don't think so. I think there's some type of evolutionary process that is in force and in motion that we are subject to. Now, here's what I think happens in death. The other day, Allison was laughing at me because I spilled everything all over me. This hand doesn't work much anymore from quad bypass. It's sick. It doesn't have any dexterity. And I can't see as well when I'm eating. I drop shit off my fork. And I do that a lot to try to get sympathy, but in this house there's no sympathy. I'm reverting back to a baby. Now, I've taken care of a lot of babies. When a baby comes into the world, they don't know if they're hot or they're cold. They come out of warm water, the amniotic sac, and out into the air, they're cold as hell. Well, then you put them under the French fry light because you don't want them to turn jaundice and yellow. Now they're hotter than hell. Well, that's the way I am. Sometimes I'll be sitting in my room and I'll look at the temperature. It hasn't changed at all, and god dang, I'm cold as as an ice cube. And then I'll lay there for an hour or so under a blanket, and I wake up and I'm hotter than hell, and the temperature hasn't changed. The fans are the same. So the thermal regulation in a baby and in an older person looks very similar. Now, babies can't see worse shit. Babies don't even have meiotic vision. In other words, able to see the distance. They can't focus and see the distance until they're about 4 to 6 months old. And of course, that is the height of sudden infant death, and I think that's related, but that's another subject. And I'm having a hard time too. Sometimes I can't quite see. Am I a mile away or 2 miles away, or is it right in front of me? Well, also, I've looked at a lot of baby hairdos. Hell, it looks like they stole my idea. Then pretty soon, they're throwing up. They're burping. They're projectile vomiting. And I don't want to go into details. I'm going to save you that. But old people do that shit too. All right. Well, the other thing is, the baby, she or he, they don't go to the bathroom in the toilet. They go pee-pee when they want. Well, I don't want to go into details on that one. You know, there's some medications, and some of them work a little bit. And they crap their pants. I am not going into that. You cannot force me into that. Only one time. So, I can't walk. I can't balance. Have you ever seen an 18-month-old, well, say a 13-month-old baby trying to walk? They're like a little robot, like a weeble, and they bump into shit. They can't see. Well, there I am again. There I am again. And they sleep and sleep. A baby, I think, sleeps 2/3 of its life the first 12 months. Well, I'm sleeping about 90% the last 10 years. Why? I don't know. Why? I don't know. And suddenly, babies don't like things to change. If you take the baby's blanket off the bed to go wash it, the baby goes bullshit. Well, I do too. Take a dirty blanket. I don't care. And you're getting my point that life seems to be an ugly circle. Babies can't feed themselves. God, I set the kitchen on fire daily. You know, my fire company says, you know, they call and they say, is the kitchen on fire again, David? And I go, well, it's not a bad one this time. I think I can get it with a blanket. Good. We're not coming out. My food has to be healthy. Pure water, pure air. Babies, same way. You give a baby contaminated or food, they choke. You know, I had an autistic son. He choked on a hot dog no matter how small you cut it. So, not to belabor the point, it appears that life is going in a circle. Now, when you go to a baby and you say, baby, do you remember being born? Yeah, I remember sliding down. It was all wet. I couldn't see. Pop, I came out. And oh my gosh, I saw a vagina. It's the first thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, I think that's going to be the last thing I see in my life. I'm going right back to where I came from. Anyway, a baby can't remember birth, and we're not going to remember death. Now, I've seen the pictures of Krakatoa and all the people buried under the ground and their faces are, you know, like they were in pain. I don't think so. I think their heads were cut off. The pain was long gone. Their bodies still had nerves and still was attached and still responded to heat and to pressures and to torture of being buried under the ash. I don't think the person was tortured to death. I think they just died. I don't think they knew what hit them. So there's the Bard's theory. Life is a big circle. I'm becoming a big baby again. I wonder if that's why I put that extra intercom up in my room. Help, help, bring me my meds. I don't know. Anyway, I just want you to know my take on death. I'm not afraid of it. I faced it a couple times. Oh Lord, I remember I overdosed on Valium or on insulin accidentally when I was coming back from the Philippines the last time. I got the bottles mixed up just like a baby. They mix up pills. They think it's candy. They eat shit that they shouldn't eat. Well, I got mixed up and I shot way too much Humalog, way over. I called the hospital. I was across town, and I said, I've shot it. What do you want me to do? And they said, well, do you think you can make it here? And I said, I think I can. It's going to take 10 minutes for it to really take effect. Well, I went in there, and I was overdosed, and, you know, they take your shoelaces away and your belt because they think you're trying to kill yourself. And so I have faced death 4, 5, 6 times. And, of course, I've been married 5 other times, so I have been a dead man walking. I'm still walking a dead man. So I'm not afraid of it. I'm trying to figure it out. Partly curiosity, no real fear, because when I wake up in the morning, I'll say, oh, shit, I'm still here. And, you know, my wives, I've had 2 or 3 wives tell me, you're going to die in your sleep. Well, with those wives, when I slept with them, I did keep one eye open. I don't know how they knew that, and I didn't want it to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, anyway, I think I probably will die in my death. Yeah, I will die in my death. And babies say shit like they babble and babble, and it doesn't mean anything, just like me. Just like me. It has no meaning. So, I wanted to share with you where I think I'm going, and I don't know where you're going, and I don't know what your personal belief system is. I don't want to be with Jesus. I don't want to be around a bunch of other people. I don't want to be around my family. That's the last place I want to be. And like I said, I'm bipolar. I can be alone, and it's a blast. It's a blast just to be able to have a bipolar mind and to think and think and think and figure things out and learn. So anyway, if we die and you see me, just come up and say, "Are you Sir David the Bard?" And I'll go, "No, I'm Sir David the Baby Bard. I went back to babyhood, and here I am, and here you are. Thanks."